Hello, everybody. So, today I wanted to share a little bit of my testimony. I haven't shared it for a while, and I know a lot of you have never heard it before, And today is a significant day for me, but I'll get to that later. So, my name is Nicole Elizabeth Cerny. I'm 20 years old right now, and I was born in Amsterdam, the Netherlands on June 2nd, 2001. My parents were a part of Youth with a Mission in Amsterdam for 9 years. I had an older sister and then two younger brothers there. And then when I turned 5, my family moved to Kansas City, Missouri to join the International House of Prayer in Kansas City. So I grew up in missions my whole life. I spent 1st to 12th grade in a private Christian school called the Daniel Academy. When I was 10, my family adopted my older sister, Nina, from China. This was difficult for me. However, after a few years, my sister and I became closer, and God healed and saved me from hating her. And now we're very close. We love each other. I never liked school, and high school was very difficult for me. I was not close to God. I did not like ministry or worship. I had a lot of pain, and I was under a lot of demonic influence. So, exactly 3 years ago to this day, my dad passed away in February 2019, on February 11th. And this was very hard for me. It was unexpected. We woke up and then he was gone one day. So this was the most shocking, traumatic day of my life. I had never experienced anything like this. So that season was very difficult for me. I was 17 years old, and then I graduated from high school that same year from the Daniel Academy. So this is an interesting part of my story. I grew up hating missions and hating worship. I did not want to be in that environment anymore because my parents were in that my whole life. And I had some pain, and I was just against ministry. I just liked God. I didn't love him. I liked him, and that was it. I didn't want to be involved with the church or anything at all. So it comes to graduating. I graduated high school, and because my father had passed away, my heart was in a place where God was able to come in to those deep places of pain. That was a time where either the enemy could have really come in and I could have gone way south, and I already was going south. So I literally believe I could have died pretty soon after that. But instead, God came in and he really brought the beginning of my healing. So after graduating, God told me to go to Youth with a Mission in Tokyo to do my discipleship training school. When I was 15, God put Japan in my heart. So yes, it was a very difficult teenage years. My high school years were very difficult, but I still was a believer and I still did want to love God. So when I was 15, he was able to put Japan in my heart. And so I went to Japan. I went to Japan. So I graduated. So that year, my father passed away in February. I graduated from high school in May. I became an adult in June. I turned 18 in Hawaii visiting my family, which was very sweet. That was a really significant trip. And then in September, I went to Japan. So I was in Japan for almost 5 months doing my DTS with YWAM. And then we went to Fiji for outreach for 1 month. And during this time, God called me to be a missionary for the rest of my life. And that was a significant day for me, obviously. This leader from the early days of YWAM came and he was sharing stories with us in the YWAM Tokyo living room. and I just felt a burning in my heart, and I heard God tell me, I'm going to be a missionary until I die. So he really called me that day. So I graduated from DTS with YWAM Tokyo near the end of February 2020. And then I returned to Kansas City and moved back in with my mom and my siblings. And I came back a week before COVID started. So I was one of the last tourists in Japan, and they're still closed, which was crazy. So I returned to Kansas City after my DTS in YWAM Tokyo, and I loved Japan. It was an amazing time. It was an amazing part of my journey of my life. So I returned to Kansas City, and I was planning on going back to YWAM Tokyo to join as staff. I applied and was accepted, then began my long visa support raising process from March 2020 to January 2021. I was waiting to return to Japan for basically a whole year. During that time, I joined my mom's ministry, Prisoners of Hope, an inner healing and deliverance ministry in IHOP KC. So I came back from Japan in February, and then July that year, I went through Prisoners of Hope. And back then, they had 1 week long intensives. Now they're only 3 days. But when I did it, it was a week. And it was so transformational. And I got so much deliverance and healing. So and then eventually, I was not feeling peace about going back to YWAM Tokyo, which was weird because I had been on this path for so long. So God began to change my path I thought I was set on. So in January, the country shut down. I was going to move in January. I was totally ready. I was packed up. All my belongings were, packed up. I was ready to go. And then the country shut down. And it was difficult to hear that. So I waited another month till February. They shut down again. And then March came. And I really felt God wanted me to just cancel this plan that I had and to close the door to returning to Tokyo after 1 year of waiting. Yeah, so that was a crazy time. Going back in time a couple months. So in October 2020, a Messianic Jew named Nathaniel messaged me on WhatsApp out of nowhere, and he said that he saw my Instagram page and thought that it was awesome that I was a missionary. Over the next few months, we became friends, and now he's one of my strongest prayer partners and a close friend. And this was the first connection I had to Israel. And then in July 2020, I became kind of interested in Israel because it was being brought up in so many conversations and places. A friend of mine told me about a house of prayer called Sukkot Halal. And since that conversation, many others have taken place, including meeting my friend online. And so now I have been a part of Prisoners of Hope for 1 year and a month. So a little over a year. And yeah, many of us have really strongly fallen in love with Israel and God's chosen people. And that was very supernatural for me because before 2020, it never even entered my mind. And then God just suddenly, so strongly put it in my heart. And I started listening to the music, watching videos, connecting with people, and it was just beautiful. So I felt called to be a worship leader. God gave this to me in Japan. I began learning guitar about a month after returning from Japan. I started a little in Japan. My friends taught me a few chords, and I loved it. I fell in love with worship and music there because YWAM Tokyo was very focused on worship and family, which was so beautiful and really, really impacted me. So I came back and I went to a revival meeting one night, and the worship leader, his name was Jordan Marcotte, and he was amazing. I loved it. So I reached out to him to see if he could teach me, and now he's almost been teaching me for a year, so it's been amazing. He was with IHOP KC and YWAM for many years. So since then, I've led worship quite a few times in Prisoners of Hope. I was a worship leader for Kid City 7, a ministry in IHOP KC reaching out to children from poor neighborhoods. And I was in the neighborhood behind the prayer room here. So God supernaturally made me fall in love with the Jewish people in Israel. In June 2021, I did Joshua Aaron's virtual tour, which was amazing. It was a blast. I have never been to Israel, so I did not know much at all about it. During this time, I learned about Israel, the Bible, God, worship, people, and a month later, I met Sheila Ben Hod. For a few days, he was here, so I saw them 2 nights, and God just started making many connections. And now, it's been a little over a month. I reached out to my favorite musician, Yaron Cherniak from Israel, and he's been teaching me the balamasaz, which is a Turkish 7-stringed instrument, which has been so much fun. It's become my favorite instrument, and I don't really know how to explain it. It's different than when I started learning guitar. It's definitely God. It was a random purchase one day. I just saw it, and it really drew me, and then God from then I just really fell in love with the instrument. And it's been an amazing journey. I started recording music a little over half a year ago, and I'm starting to release more and more. I've been really, really influenced by Middle Eastern, so I'm excited to share that when I'm ready. I'm still learning, but I am excited once I could start sharing Middle Eastern music alongside the stuff I've been putting out. So this is basically my testimony. God is good. He's really blessed my life. I have an amazing family. I still live in Kansas City. I'm going to Iraq and Turkey next month, so I have not been to the Middle East since I was a baby in Egypt, which does not really count, so I'm super excited. I was invited 1 month after learning my instrument, so I'll be bringing it with me. I'm super excited for all that God's going to do. So he's been good. God is big and God is good, and many blessings. Thank you for listening to my testimony. Thank you.